already underway with the National Hunt season now, and the first meeting at Cheltenham takes place this weekend, Friday and Saturday, the open meeting. It's a meeting whereby often it's run on good ground. This looks not too dissimilar, good to soft ground. So we've still not probably seeing the midwinter heavy ground horses or anything like that. So it can often be quite a tricky period to catch horses. But what we want to do is get together, the three of us. So it's myself, Zach from Hoof and Hustle, and Tom, obviously from the Racing Life podcast. We get together. We thought we'd bring you this podcast. We're going to cover the 2 days at Cheltenham and talk about what we think will win, what we think will not win. So let's kick straight into it. Zach, how are you? You all good?
Yeah, very well, thank you. All good. Been busy and plenty going on, and the jumps well and truly back, which is great. And Cheltenham to kick off their first meeting is going to be really good, I think.
Yeah, good. Tom, a meeting that I'm sure I can recall seeing you in an October meeting, either the last October meeting or the October before, where you had a belter of a day up there. It's a successful meeting for you. It can often be.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of seasons ago, wasn't it? I remember Herms Allen winning and JPR won.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a good day. So hopefully tomorrow we can do the same as that.
Okay. As I said, it's a tricky little meeting for those reasons that we've given, but we're going to get into it straight away. And tomorrow's racing, on the Friday, kicks off with the 1:15, which is a hurdle over 2 mile 4, handicap hurdle, class 3, and those pesky Irish boys are straight back over, Tom, with a very aptly named Bowen's on Fire. But Sean Bowen doesn't ride, Jack Kennedy does. It looks a nice little opportunity for Gordon to have a few winners, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that man, Sean Bowen's definitely on fire at the minute, isn't he? He can do little wrong. I think he's rode 2-4 timers in the last couple of days. Yeah, Bowen's on fire. I think he ran in the Galway Hurl, didn't it? The biggest handicap of the season over in Ireland. Didn't disgrace half either, am I right in saying? Or how did it run that day? I can't actually remember now.
It ran okay. I think it was the Galway Hurl. Oh no, unseated.
Unseated, okay. But it's run well since then, hasn't it?
It ran well recently, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I quite like East India Express here. Look, it's gone up £8 for its last win at Cheltenham over course and distance, which won't make life easy, but he was a big improver last season. His only defeat came in the Martin Pipe, where still ran really well, finished just midfield there. Makes his seasonal debut. Look, he'll be fit and ready to run coming from that team, Nicky Henderson. And yeah, there's lots to like about this one. Freddie Gordon rides, who's been in great form lately. Mm-hmm. And around 15-2 in a big field. I think he's a good each way bet. I think at least make the frame. So I'm going to side with him. I think the interesting one in last rodeo. If there's any money for that, definitely worth taking note of, because Christian Williams is well known for lining one up, and yeah, very lightly raced. They actually gambled in the last day when he won at Lingfield, and it was a really impressive winner that day. Shaped well in a couple of starts before that.
Very well punted, wasn't it?
Really well punted, and yeah, and absolutely bolted up. So really lightly raced, got a lovely profile coming into this, and there's lots more to come. Whether it's tomorrow or not, I'm not too sure, but the better to be the best guy.
Any more rain wouldn't harm that one's chance, that's for sure.
No.
Give it a soft ground. Zach, where does your sort of thoughts and feelings lie on this first race at Cheltenham tomorrow?
Yeah, interesting first race. I really quite like the chances of French Sip for Hobbs and Johnson White. Ben Jones on board. I thought it was running and well tipped up actually, and well punted at Chepstow on the Welsh Racing Festival. Was running well until falling. And I think if it's none the worse for that fall, it can run another good race. And another one on an each way, I actually, again for the same yard, I quite like Sant Anapolino. Was on a 3-timer before finishing a weaker 6 on its last start last season. But I think if they've got that one ready, it could be ready to go and run a good race. 2 for Hobbs and Johnson White, but French Sip is probably where I'm going to play my money.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I think if you go back and have a look at that race going 3 out, and you sort of paused it for that 5 seconds before, you'd have said there was nothing going better than Friendship there at that point. So I really believe, as long as the fall hasn't taken too much out of it, and it can do, let's be real, it can do. So there's a possibility that you might see this one just not go in a yard because of that confidence lacking and might not be jumping great. So if that was the case, you probably know your fate quite early, I'd imagine. But I do think there's a good race in this. If you go back through his back form, he's actually got some really good form lines. To only be a rating of 128, if you have a look at a lot of the horses it's run against, a lot high profile horses, higher rating than this, there's got to be a nice handicap in this one. And I think that you pointed that out. I would love, I just think it's the biggest shame ever that Bowen's on Fire has not got Sean Bowen on it tomorrow. Like it would have been, I'm not joking, that would have gone off 4 to 5.
Yeah, it would have got backed off the boards, and when it come back in, if it did win, everyone would be singing that song as well, wouldn't they? Bowen's on Fire.
Exactly. And he's, oh no, we won't go there. We'll get into trouble. Right, okay, let's move on to the second race, the Novice Chase. Class 2 Novice Chase over 2 miles. Look, I'm looking at this field and I'm confident to stick this statement out there now. There's not an Arkle horse in here. These are handicappers. And that makes it quite difficult because often there's an Arkle type in here. Look, King of Kingsfield, for Gordon, for me, for what it's worth, has got a nice enough profile for maybe handicapping later on in the season. And like I think Tom, you mentioned it could end up in the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual, potentially that type of horse before. Whether he's even good enough for that, I don't know. I think Country Mile is the horse to be on. I think he's got a few pounds in hand with Elnaman or El Nilam of Ollie Murphy's, which I again expect to be well back because Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen, they're going really good at the moment. I think he was quite well looked after at Utox to Country Mile the last day. I don't think much was put, the gun certainly wasn't put to his head to go and win his race. It was, okay, this isn't the day, we'll look after you. He's got that weight reversal. I just got a funny feeling, I got an idea that Country Mile won really well at Cheltenham before Prees over hurdles. Might be a better sort of track for him than maybe Utox to, like I said, the weight in hand will be key, and I think Country Mile is the horse to follow in this race tomorrow. Tom, you got the mic, just stop you.
Yeah, well, I think firstly, King Kingsfield probably brings the most from what he's achieved in the past, going into the most. And look, he's done very little wrong over fences, to be fair. He ran a really good third in between all his wins. Behind a nice horse, the Mullinses, and as the horse that comes second that day is very good as well. So that probably is the best individual piece of form. But I think Country Mile is getting weight here. I wasn't too worried about him getting beat on his chase debut at Utoxter. Came at a time where Scoutons were, that day in particular, were shaping up. They definitely needed a run. It was only a free-runner affair, so I think it was a bit of a falsely run race, to be honest. With that experience under his belt, I expect him to take a massive step forward here. He's built to be a chaser, isn't he? And he jumped perfectly well on debut. I think there's a lot more to come from this one, and I think he will go on to at least be the best of them. Hopefully we'll see that tomorrow.
Okay. Zach, can I ask you a question, Zach? Because I'll bring you in here because I want to mention one of your jockeys you look after here before you go on and talk about whatever you fancy is on a horse called Kentara for Paul Nicholls. Do you think this horse will go off from the front and try and jump them silly? Is that a tactics that you believe it might take?
Yeah, I think that's exactly how that horse has run pretty much all of its races. Okay. The one time it kind of did get taken on, I think that's where it came second, actually. Okay. It bowls out from the front. Jay will do the exact same tactics as what the horse likes. However, it has been running mainly on your flatter tracks, and obviously with the undulations and the more testing circumstances at Cheltenham, you'll see him bowl out in front again, but he's going to get picked off.
In that case, that makes me fancy Country Mile even more, to be honest.
Yeah, I can obviously see that while you're both going down that direction. But for me, I think it will be Jay will take Kentara out the front. He'll set a good pace, and then you'll have your Country Mile, King of Kingsfield, and Alnilem trying to pick up the pieces. And I just think King of Kingsfield on form is currently the classiest horse in the race. Country Mile's probably got the most potential to improve to the next level, but I think King of Kingsfield will win this race.
Okay, cool. One for Gordon and the Irish lads that come over, as always. They will not go home empty-handed, I'm sure. Okay, so we kick into the third race, which is another handicap over 2 miles and a half furlong. Neil King's horses has been pretty well supported here. Rubber Ball. I don't actually like Rubber Ball, but I'll go on to what I like in a minute. Tom, what do you like in the race?
Yeah, well, Rubber Ball is very interesting, I think. He beat a horse called Tutti Quanti, didn't he, at Newbury a couple of runs back. That one was really well fancied the other day for the Welsh Champion Hurdle. Didn't run much for a race, but what horses Paul Nicholls are at the minute, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Then he finished last at Aintree in a Grade 1, but there's some really big names in that. He drops back into a handicap here for a mark of 128. There's still got lots of potential, I think. It's a meeting which Neil King has done well out in the last couple of years, I believe, and I can see why that one's quite well found the bet in. I haven't got a massive opinion on the race, to be honest, but there should be lots more to come from Zukon Enki. It does worry me that Paul Nicholls' form at the moment, they're just shaping up they definitely need a run, aren't they? And I think he's openly admitted that. But yeah, Freddie Keatley takes off a really valuable £8 from that one as well. So, he's only rated 115. He looked really good when he won on his English debut at Wincanton, I think it was. And he did bomb out thereafter. But some of these French horses, when they come over, they can do that. So I'm not too worried. Unexposed type, lots more to come. So I'll be back in Zukon Enki each way, actually.
Okay, Zach?
Yeah, for me, I think if you're looking at this race, most of them are, coming for their first run for the season. There's only a few with recent runs, and those with recent runs haven't really done too much to kind of light your fire, really. Apart from, in my opinion, Torquay Road kind of brings the most recent form into the race. Won its last two, and that's probably where I would be going. The only other one that I agree with Tom is probably Zukon Enki, just because you think it's definitely going to have an opportunity to improve. They obviously think there's something about that horse, and also Freddie Keatley has been riding really well. Another one of my jockeys, not just saying it because he is, but he's been riding really well recently. So I think he'd be one to watch as well, in the hope that Nicholls is.
He's a much improved jockey.
Oh yeah, fantastic. He's been in a Racing Post recently, tipped up as one of the ones to watch, and he's definitely been much improved. I think it obviously helps being at a yard like Nicholls, learning from Cobden's and all the experience Nicholls has had, and he's got good people around him and a family in racing, so I can only imagine he'll continue to improve. But yeah, I'll probably go Torquay Road for Cian Collins in this one.
Okay, I'll stick with my gut instinct here. But when I looked at the cards at the start of the week, I thought King William Rufus was well worth following. Hasn't had a run, so obviously that is against it. However, Chris Gordon's team are in really good form at the moment. Freddie Gordon riding really well. Just talking about young jockeys, he's another young jockey who's riding really, really well. Bumped into Chris Gordon at Lambourne and his son whilst they were schooling a horse a couple of weeks back, and we actually had a bit of a laugh because it was just after he nearly got pipped on the line by that Joe Rebel. And he said, actually, everybody thinks I went home and give him a bollocking or whatever. He said, actually, we had a bit of a laugh about it. He said if he'd have got beat, we'd have been having a different conversation. But look, going back to this one, it won at Cheltenham at the April meeting in a really competitive handicap hurdle over this sort of distance. There was some half decent horses in behind that day. Whether they would have been sort of over the top and that was his Gold Cup, so to speak, at the end of the season, I'm not sure. But he hasn't been, in my opinion, he hasn't been completely harshly treated by only going up £4 for that win at Cheltenham. I like horses going back course and distance, horses yard, like I said, yard in form. There's already been a bit of money for it. I think there's a lot of nice ticks in boxes here, and I can see King William Rufus running a big race in this one. Right, okay, so before we got on camera and started this podcast, these two, I'm going to leave it up to them to take this away because they both said the exact same thing. And look, Zach, you've got the mic in your hand, so you can start with this one. We're loving the Twistons at the moment, especially given the form they're in, and they look to have a potentially above average horse here, don't they?
Yeah, obviously the race it won, the other opposition it came up against wasn't nothing special, but the manner and performance of the way the horse went about its business was something that took your eye quite quickly. Sam Twiston-Davis has also come out in an interview afterwards, the next day actually, and said out of all the horses within their yard, he's the one he's most looking forward to for the season. And for me, I take that, quite quite good signs that they've got plenty of good horses in that yard, and that's the one he's most excited about.
That's a huge statement, because we were at Chepstow a couple of weeks ago, and the horse that won the novice
Masked Man.
Yeah. I mean, wow, we were a bit taken back by that, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. I mean, for me, I was like, cool, that would be one of their best horses this season. And then literally only a few days later, is it Un C'est La Vie? Is that what it's called?
Sans à la vie.
Sans à la Vie.
And can we just say, this is a day after
Yeah.
Worcester, where another horse for Paddy Brennan's syndicate has just gone and bolted up, and we think that could be very nice.
Exactly, yeah.
The rise of the Twiston Davis family.
Yeah, but I think this horse just absolutely dots up in this race. Ultimately, I think that's the nailed-on winner. And then they'll probably put it away for a little bit after that, and then look ahead to next one of the bigger meetings and get it freshened up for that. But I think if you want something also a much bigger price on an each way, then I quite like Jaminska. It's been performing pretty well for Jane Williams across the summer. The only slight doubt I would have that it's mainly been doing this winning again on flatter tracks rather than your undulating test in Cheltenham. However, it has been performing really well. It's got a decent little turn of foot about it, and it tries really hard, and it's 33-1, so you can't really knock that for an each way. But yeah, Un C'est La Vie is nailed on winner.
Good French, by the way. Right, Tommy.
Yeah, Sans à la Vie wins. Love Samson Davis. He just keeps it simple, expecting to be ridden handy and pop away and get the job done. I think his sights further down the line will probably end up in the Formby at Aintree, which they won last year with Potter's Charm. Yeah, I hope they don't run him as much as that one, because he got to the end of the season and I just think he had nothing left to give, to be honest. But yeah, this is such a nice horse. He absolutely hacked up in his bumper, bolted up in his Herden debut. He missed the second last, but look, they can always make one mistake on the way around, can't they? So he picked himself up after that and winged the last. So I think he learned from it. But yeah, I just think he's the class act in the race. Nothing worries me. Opposition-wise, you're going to see two different races, to be honest. You're going to see him on the front end. You're going to see Fortune de Mer, the back of the field, picking himself through. Probably looking the likely winner, but I just expect Sans à la Vie to have too much and power clear.
Okay, good. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not really even going to give an opposition. I've all of what the lads said, I completely agree with. So no need to go into more detail. We'll kick on. The 3:35. I think this is a more fascinating race, definitely, for sure. A handicap chase over 2 miles. Again, a lot of sort of, I suppose, names we know a lot of and have seen throughout the last few seasons. The likes of Matata, the likes of Calico for the Skeltons as well, who I see has been backed into favourite. He looks on quite a nice little mark, actually, Calico. I caught my eye from that perspective, but I actually fancy something else in here, and I'll go on and talk about my one after. But Zach, do you want to give us what you like in this race?
Yeah, so a few seasons ago, I thought Matata was going to be like one of the next big things, but didn't really pan out that way. And it's kind of put me off the horse a little bit. You can't obviously discount the current form of the yard, however, which is obviously very tempting to look in his direction. But I think off of his current mark and the current weight he's carrying and his performances over his last couple, it is putting me off. So I've gone elsewhere, and I quite like Third Time Lucky for Fergal.
Okay.
It's 12-1 at the moment, and it's won its last 2. I thought not the last race it won, the one before, I thought that was a really good performance. Kind of first time out for the season, and then it's gone on to win again. So it's currently fit, it's enjoying itself, and looking at the rest of the field, I'm just not quite sure if there's anything that's appealing to me other than that. So yeah, that's where I've gone for Third Time Lucky, in the hope that the current form and how it's been progressing can continue for Fergal and Johnny Buck.
Cool. Okay. Tom?
Yes, for me, it's going to be the same too as last year. Matata and Calico. In Calico's favour again. Yeah, he's a very good horse fresh. The ground will suit. Just going through the others, I think a couple of them are badly handicapped, to be honest. struggling there with Third Time Lucky. I just don't think he's the horse of old, although he's won his last two, of course. But these have been in worse races, I think. He's a really promising horse, wasn't he, for the Skeltons a couple of years back? And I think he had his problems. But he's obviously back on course now. Just good a Dame for Henry de Bromhead. He has his horse in really good order, doesn't he? But again, he's not really run a bad race at Cheltenham thus far. I think he was fifth in the Grand Annual. So that's a good bit of form. But I just think it's worth focusing on Calico and Matata again here. Calico's got a big weight swing, and he goes well fresh. I'm going to side with him again.
Okay, I backed a horse in this race on Tuesday, and I backed it on the basis that I feel as if this may have been a fairly long-term sort of target for this horse, because I'm not sure he's much beyond, his handicap is much more open beyond this, but I think this is within his grasp. The horse that I like is Brookie. I think it ran at Punchestown, got beaten by Margeborough, running in that really good race over there, the Grade 1, beaten 15 lengths by Margeborough. That horse is rated 165. But before that, he got beaten by Caliph de Burley by 3.5 lengths, which in my book is not a bad piece of form, because I think Caliph de Burley, especially from Paul Nicholls this season, is talking him about being a Queen Mother Champion Chase type of horse. Whether he's that good, I'm not so sure. And I just feel as if this horse is in the right space to come and run a good race at this level. This doesn't look very, very strong to me. I agree with the sentiments around Matata. I think he's on too high a handicap mark. I do believe that Calico is probably the right favourite in the race, but I think they're gettable. They're not like world beaters, and I think if there's an unexposed type here that could progress from an 8-year-old with carrying just 11 stone 3 in this type of race, I think Brookie's the one, and I think that I expect him to run a good race tomorrow in the 3:35. So move on, the 4:10, which is another handicap hurdle, a novice handicap hurdle this time. The Skeltons have Dalston Lad, who's been put in the market as favourite at this moment in time. He's 3 from 4 the last day, running in obviously a race that was very competitive in the bumper at Cheltenham. He's now coming over hurdles. What do we think? Do we think he could be very, very good?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good horse, and he could continue to progress, and does kind of, looking through the rest of the horses in this race, look like the best horse in terms of, pedigree and everything else. But there's a horse in here that I keep getting drawn to, because it just kind of sparks to me I'm not saying he's the same ability as, is it Ames for James Owen that's won a few on the bounce and looks pretty good, and won at Chepstow. But I think Percy Shelley is just kind of screaming the same kind of horse, not that level, but it's won its last two. Probably got a bit of a flat pedigree than anything else, but James always does well at bringing over the flat horses to the hurdles code. And I just think that you've got Sean Bowen, who can't do nothing wrong at the moment, and I think Percy Shelley has got another opportunity to either notch up another win or finish very close in this race. So that's where I'll be going.
Okay, interesting. Tom?
Yeah, I think Dalston Lad's the right favourite, of course, just on base of his form so far. You can put a line for his last run in the champion bumper, can't you? It's just red hot, whereas this isn't. I'm going to focus on the bottom two, actually. I was quite keen on Etna Bianco each way at a price. He's a point winner and ran a lovely race sort of rules debut at Kempton and a bumper, where he stayed on really nicely. This will be much more his discipline. So that's one worth keeping an eye on. And then Leader Crick for the Twist and Davis team. He was very well fancied to win his only start in an Irish point, where he's just touched off to finish second. And I say he's a big money purchase coming over here for the Twistons. He can do very little wrong at the moment. And they do really well, these types of horses as well, which is worth pointing out. I think when they get a good one, they do a really good job with them. And it's nice to see them starting to attract them again. And any market support for that one will be significant for me. So I'm going to go with 7 and 8 there, and Etna Bianco each way, and I'll probably go with Leader Crick for the win, just based on the form of the yard at the moment.
What do we make of Dom Virginia and the move that they've made with that here? Because it won by, an unbelievable distance in the sort of the finale to the fixed brush hurdle thing at Worcester, the race at Worcester, and he had the race sewn up. Let's be honest, probably 3 out. He was that far clear. He won. Went up a staggering amount, which I probably think is curtailed any handicapping sort of thoughts. But he's in here priced up at 4-1, so he's not unfancied to be in amongst it, is he?
It was a really good party one at Worcester, wasn't it? I think it was a 70 grand race. Look, he kicked on 5 out, I think it was, and they just didn't see which way he went. They were really strung out that day. Took me by surprise a little bit. It's a horse I've kind of followed, and he's getting beaten at short prices and not really running to any sort of anywhere near that sort of level we saw at Worcester. So I think he was kind of what's the best way to put it? I don't think it was as good as what we actually saw.
Flattered.
I think he's very flattered. Yeah, this is why he's running in a novice here, because his mark was probably destroyed after that a little bit. And look, we'll definitely find out more again tomorrow. You might prove it wasn't a fluke, but I just can't buy it.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in one horse running in here because I thought that there was some movement on the handicap mark, especially given the claim of Freddie Keatley and de Tom, or however you're going to say it. That's my French for you. For Martin Keatley, won at Uttoxeter last day. I think that was a good race because I know for a fact that Jamie Snowden quite likes Tip Top Tim and believes that that's a novice this season they're going to have a lot of fun with. And the Tom with Freddie Keatley on there, he come there and won the race quite nicely in the end. And I was just disappointed to see him pitched in to a novice like this when I think they could have taken advantage of a mark of 117. Now I don't know whether this is actually he's much better than we thought he was, or whether this is actually this might be a nice mark if you get what I'm saying. So let's see where he is actually at. So, but he's 33-1, and in this race where it's not exactly cut and shut. I think there's 8 runners. I'm just trying to look to see now. At the moment, there's 8 runners. I think at 33-1, you could probably back worse 33-1 shots tomorrow at Cheltenham.
Yeah. No, he's got a chance.
Right, okay. In the last, it's the amateur handicap chase. I don't know about you boys, but I can't help myself here but try and find the top 4 or 5 amateurs and limit the race down to those boys. That's often I'm not going to waste too much time because the standard, no disrespect to them, but professional jockeys and amateur jockeys there's a big difference, and I've ended up doing that. So I'll talk about mine in a second. You've got the mic there, Zach. So let's hear where your sort of thinking's at in this race.
Yeah, so I'll be straight and honest. That's kind of my thinking as well. Was kind of look at which kind of the main amateurs and have done well previously at these kind of bigger meetings, and I also then looked at which trainers are currently in form and their horses are running well. And I've come down on hung jury for Martin Keatley and Mr. Sean O'Connor on board. I think out of all of the horses here, it's won 2 starts ago, came fourth, albeit 133 days ago. But Martin Keatley's horses are all running pretty well at the moment. They're not disgracing themselves.
Huge price this, by the way.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely got a bit of a chance. I've kind of spoken to the yard and they're very happy with how their horses are running. And for me, that's just a good sign. And Sean O'Connor's a good amateur jock, and that's just where I've gone. For me, I probably won't have a bet in the race, but if I was going to, then that's where I would go. I don't really like these kind of amateur jockey handicap chases just because anything can really happen. And but that's where I'd go.
Cool. Tom, let's hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I quite like Regard. He keeps things quite simple, actually. He'd be ridden pretty handy. Jamie Snowden's got his horse in really good order at the moment. Run a lovely race there at the end of last season at Cheltenham behind a horse called Arse Brewster. That one's come out in one since at Chepstow, so the form's all looking good. I think he's had further wind surgery. He's proven in the past he can be good fresh. He's a good record winning from that. Lots to like. He's 15-2 at the moment. I think
he's decent enough price. Yeah.
So in a big field, I think he's a good each way bet. Where if you look online, you're probably gonna get 4 or 5 places, aren't you at least? So
I'd say this one might be a 5 placer. Yeah.
Ridden by Barry O'Neill as well. He's one of the best Irish jockeys, isn't he? So he's he's got every chance. I think the newest one's definitely worth a mention. Won the race last year. We've said it about a million times now. It's getting boring, but Willie and Nigel have their horse in great form, don't they? And this horse is also good fresh, so I will side with those two against the field.
Yeah, I'm in your camp with Ricardo. Run a good race, like you say, in this last year. He's a horse that probably does want a little bit further than this distance. He, like you said, the race against Aspreystow was over 3 mile 4. I think this is 3 mile 1 and a bit or whatever it is. So down in trip a little bit. I don't think that's too much of an inconvenience, but I think he does stay a little bit further. The rain that's probably fallen is probably going to help him with that a little bit and maybe blunt the speed of a few. And I think that'd go well. What I am interested in, and I'd be stupid not to mention it, is the horse that's been installed as favourite, this Irish horse, Solly Atwell. I actually backed it the last day when it won at Downpatrick, and I didn't think. I'm not saying I thought of this race, but the first thing that went through my mind is that could have won by half the track, and they looked after that for whatever the next day. So I actually put it in my tracker, and it popped up when I was looking through this race, and I thought, but I didn't have this kind of race in mind, if you know what I mean. So I'm a little bit caught between the two. If I'll tell you something, Cian Collins is he's an Irish name on the up as well. Is it Jazzy Matty?
Yeah, Jazzy Matty.
Who runs this weekend at some point.
Yeah.
He's a trainer on the up, isn't he? What do you think?
He has his horse in great order as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Seems to be going well.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. That's Cheltenham Friday. Hopefully we've helped you find a good few winners, and we'll kick in to have a look to try and find winners for Saturday.